Now, some of the things fans are saying that I want to address as far as why they should not hire a new coach. We have our expectations at West Virginia are too high. First of all, and here's what I put on Twitter, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically, we already have lower expectations than a lot of other programs have. Our expectations at West Virginia are basically to win 8 to 9 games a year and compete for a conference title every so often. At least 1 or 2 times a decade. We should be at the top of it now. And now with Oklahoma and Texas out, I think it's fair to expect it even more than that. They might have a bad year and a slip up occasionally. That's understandable. But they should be getting 8 to 9 wins almost every year, and with the occasional 10 and 11 win season. That is the expectations, and that has been the historic success at West Virginia. We also expect to be ranked in the top 25, which we have not done one time since Neal Brown's been the coach at West Virginia. I was comparing him to Dana Holgorsen. Now, I recommend you all go back, go to Facebook, and I actually shared it on my X account at Couz206. Eugene Napoleon, former West Virginia player, did about a 20 to 25-minute live on his Facebook account talking about this situation. I recommend you all go watch it, but one of the things he talked about was Dana Holgorsen's winning percentage. He took the winning percentages. He went from Don Nehlen to Neal Brown, and each coach's winning percentage at West Virginia. All of them were in at least 60% plus, except Neal Brown, who's at 50%. Dana Holgorsen was right at 60%. So what I did, I took out Dana Holgorsen's the year that they were in the Big East, and I looked just at the years West Virginia was in the Big 12. Winning percentage was 57%. Well, I thought, well, that's not fair either because Neal Brown has played a lot more Power 4 opponents in non-conference games. So I looked at their conference schedules. Dana Holgorsen was 34-30 in the Big 12. Neal Brown's 20-24. Now, you might say, well, Couz, the Neal Brown defenders might say, but Couz, Dana Holgorsen was playing Kansas and Iowa State when they were bad, and that's fair. But then we also have to include the fact that Neal Brown, at least last year, played Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, and Houston in their first year in a power conference. That needs to be counted against him then, does it not? So, bottom line is, he's not meeting even West Virginia's expectations. We're not asking for national titles. We're asking to be nationally relevant, to be ranked in the AP top 25 almost every year, which, by the way, Dana Holgorsen was every year but one. Dana Holgorsen had this team ranked in the AP top 25 every single year they were in the Big 12 except one, and that was that 2013 season when they had a losing record, when they were basically rebuilding after he lost Geno and Tavon and Stedman and that team. It took him 1 year to rebuild. Then they started winning again. Now, they had a lot of 7-win seasons in there. That's fair. But they were also making bowl games. They had the 10-win season in 2016. They were at least in the conversation for the Big 12 title. Now, there were a lot of things about Dana Holgorsen I didn't like. His defense has usually struggled. I didn't like the way he left. He wasn't as good of an ambassador for the university as Neal Brown is. There's a lot of things that, but when you're looking at strictly wins and losses, so you can say the schedule with Neal's playing a tougher schedule, and that's all fair. But but I have eyes to watch football with, and what my eyes are telling me is that you have a team and a coaching staff making the same mistakes year in and year out, losing games in the same way year in and year out. They're unable to win close games in most cases. How many games has West Virginia been that close to winning and not been able to pull it out or allowed a comeback in the final minutes? You remember the Pitt game in 22, the Houston game, the Oklahoma State game last year. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. PW Riggs, I'm actually, he says, answer me this. Players are ranked 1 to 5, talking about stars. We are not going to get to 5 stars, and sometimes we get a 4 or 2. Most are 2s and 3s, and teams we play are 4s and 5s, if I'm making sense. PW Riggs, that's not accurate anymore. Oklahoma and Texas are not on in this conference anymore. West Virginia is now in a conference with their peers. And actually, one of the things I had on the list, one of the things West Virginia, wants to talk about is we can't get the talent here. Well, and can't afford because we can't pay players enough NIL money. We can't get good enough talent. Well, here's my thing. Kansas State and West Virginia, West Virginia is on about the same level resource-wise as Kansas State, Iowa State, and pretty close to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's not that far ahead of us either. Kansas State doesn't have an issue winning football games, do they? They win 8-9 games a year, every year. They've even won a conference title. Chris Kleiman was hired the exact same year as Neal Brown. They already have a conference championship. Neal Brown hasn't even been ranked in the top 25. So the excuse that we don't have the resources, to me, all you have to do is look in your own conference, and that argument goes out the window. And you wad it up, and you throw it in the garbage. Because I don't think it passes the sniff test. And Iowa State's another one. They at least played in a Big 12 title game a few years back, 21, I believe it was. They didn't win it, but they played in it. They've won more consistently than Neal Brown has since he's been there.